What's up, everybody, or embody? Today on the Yours Truly podcast, I have a very special guest in the virtual studio, Admiral of the Fire Ant Flotilla of Meaning, King of the Broken Clock Tower Discord, General of the Loomers, Reapers, and Clipper Creatures. It is Grim Grim, and more affectionately known in this little corner of the internet as Grim Grizz. Back in January, a strange thing took place in my life. I unofficially and officially started a YouTube channel, mainly as a place to get out and talk aloud about ideas and experiences that had mostly lived in my head for the last 5 to 7 years. Things about Jordan Peterson and other significant figures on YouTube that had impacted me as a person trying to rebuild a life I had destroyed. When I did, something strange happened. A pre-existing group of people who had been hanging out in the same corner of the internet I had, unbeknownst to me, heard me, saw me, and more importantly, understood me. And I understood them. A few people took some of my first videos and highlighted them on their channels. Paul Vanderklay, Chad from the Friday Morning Nameless, and Grim Grizz. This honestly was a huge dopamine hit, not just for the posting and narcissistic pull, but also because of the intense commonality to the culture and ideas that they were centered around. Grim is a big reason this happened. The cyberpunk dystopian-ish Discord community he leads passes around the digital breadcrumbs found from channels of meaning making. And when a new one is spotted, the word is spread, and they spotted me, though not without a healthy dose of skepticism, as I was a very unknown quantity, not having lurked and commented in the corner for months or years before surfacing on a channel. Maybe I was even an agent of an agency. Grim has an innate understanding of how analog and digital TV and media has shaped humanity. His thesis on how the god Set, TV set, and Set's daughter, the god Cell, cellular phone, have captured us, subdued us, and beckoned us to do their bidding is a deep and profound insight into the world we all operate in. I learned of Grim's life story through his rando conversation on Paul Vanderklay's channel. It struck me as I listened because his story represented stories of people I knew and were interested in as a kid, the kind of people who were so far ahead of the curve that they seemed strange. But I was afraid to truly know them because of my own insecurities. But Grim has given me a chance to continue to rectify it and trust in something deeper in myself and in others. I even got to meet Grim at the Symbolic World Summit. Grim's channel, Griswold Grim, which its description reads, "Even broken clocks are right twice a day." If you happen to visit, you may not understand what you're seeing, what games are being played, what his commercials mean, or what he's talking about in his characterized voice. But if you hang around long enough, you might be able to start to see something true. And if you do, well, welcome aboard. So without further delay, I give you Griswold Grim. Hi, this is Christian Baxter, and you're listening to Yours Truly, a place we go to think out loud. And we're live recording something.
Cracks me up every time.
What?
Just imagine Jocko Willink, right?
Okay.
He's driving around the road in his car, and then all of a sudden, hello. You're listening to Yours Truly. It's coming out of Jocko Willink's stereo, man.
Yeah, if that ever happens, I would be pretty happy regardless of how silly it was.
It's hilarious. Okay, man.
Oh,
Call for the show, Blue Church. Deuce of clubs. Deuce of clubs. So here, I'm on. This is your place.
This is my place, but we got the card, the Blue Church card. Yeah, why don't we start there? Blue Church, Red Church. Unpack Grim Grizz's world with me. Blue Church, Red Church cards. Let's start there.
All right, well, essentially the foundational tenet of the Blue Church is there's safety in the herd. There's wisdom in the crowd. Everything they tell me on the television is everything is under. Okay, it goes down like this. Once upon a time, there was an operation called the War of the Worlds, And whether or not the stupid people like thought the planet was actually being invaded, the newspapers told the people that people thought that the planet was being invaded, and now it's common knowledge, Khaleesi, that the stupid humans thought the planet was actually being invaded because of a radio show. And around that time, they really started seeing what they could do with what they had, you know, from the top down perspective, and or all the world's a stage. Why don't we direct it? And then the newscaster broadcasting system came on, and the underlying tone is the if you ever watch the news, the vibe you should get is that everything is horrible out there and we have it under control. And like that's the just go shopping. And that's, I don't know where we started, but that's in that direction.
Blue Church.
Oh, right. And so if that's the true believers of the hum of the, it's everything's under control. It's terrible out there, but everything's under control. Those true believers, so they worship Set, and what Set says goes. You know,
and that's where it started. Well, you're saying radio with when they discovered it with radio, analog, and then TV set really kind of formalized it.
Well, they discovered its evolution, maybe, baby. It's like this spectacle. What can we do with spectacle? Like if you go and you see what the ancient gods' rituals were, and how much of it was pomp and circumstance and just spectacle. Crowd control is ancient research. It's one of the and humans are these fascinating adaptive creatures that get better at whatever they do, including sitting around playing video games. You can get really good at it. And one of the things humans have been getting better at is controlling each other, manipulating crowds, managing the populace. Like that. That's been evolving this whole time. That's our forefront research. You've been born into it like 5th generational warfare. Congratulations.
So if it's 5th generation, I don't remember. What is the book that talks about it's like maybe an Asian inspired book about generational warfare. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I have no idea where the terminology comes from, but I know that the notion of it gets you out of the like, okay, so first it was sticks and then it was guns, and now it's like mental programming.
Yeah.
Conditioning, all sorts of psychological conditioning, well orchestrated through the power of the screens you stare at. And now we have to admit that like the AI is at the level where we can't trust what we see anymore. Like it might not be footage, it might be footage. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
they can show us like Israel getting nuked, and we can't trust that that's actual footage unless it's got to be. It's like trust but verify. Now it's like don't trust, just verify all the time.
Yeah. Did you think I was AI?
No. You glow hard, though. You glow so hard. You've had Jordan Hall on twice now, so I mean,
glow hard. Hard. I had to look that up when you called me glowy on your show. I didn't know what that meant.
There is no agency.
That's right.
Y'all are just LARPing.
And I was like, oh, okay. Agent Baxter. Okay, I'm starting to pick it up. I didn't know.
Because it uses you to let people know that there are agencies and organizations that pay people to be here and influence your opinion in certain directions. And that's if they just can't get the useful idiots to do it for free. So by pointing out that, hey, Baxter he's kind of fetish, it lets people know that like it's like the subplot. You're in an environment where there might be agents. Is like without me like you know this, but that's it's just it's called atmospheric engineering, and
So
then
when I was the first person that you saw at Symbolic World, surely in your brain you were thinking, Baxter's he's working. He's working.
oh, well, you were stalking me.
That no, dude. Like I parked in that like a hibachi restaurant's parking lot, and you're like, you're gonna get towed. I was like, oh.
Yeah. No, but I got out of my car at the place, and you were already taking pictures of me.
That was for the Twitter grift, man. That was for the Twitter grift. That was I mean, I was so surprised. I was about the only person posting anything on Twitter at the conference. Like as it was happening, I felt people kind of were like, I just was like, oh, this is cool. This is cool. Uh,
I was busy there being in the cool thing, and it was weird to put the layer of cell between,
say that.
like
Help me
when
understand.
you're in it, when you're in
Mhm.
it, right? Like, okay, we're finally meeting in physical space around each other, and you're like, nope, nope, I'm still behind the screen.
Yeah, and then I did Paul's newscast for him that you and Luke
Oh
kind
yeah,
of did on.
I was otherwise engaged.
Yeah, that was. I mean, that really was for me. That was a huge intersection for. I mean, you said you were worried about me whenever we were there. I mean, I was worried about myself. I was my head was about to explode. Just with the intensity of it.
I was there's a lot that like I'm hypercritical, so like I think they way oversold the VIP thing, and that in the future it'd be better to like undersell the VIP thing, charge more, and make it worth more. Um,
Hmm.
but you know, but the
Everything is
main takeaway is this:
cash
do
grab.
these again. Everybody do these again, but sincerely, do it like a yearbook. Like I met you at yeah, like but like have people sign them while you're there, so you remember who you met. You know, I don't know, might help.
Yeah. Yeah, that was. I mean, I was getting people's contact info as far as like Matt C. I got his phone number and stuff like that, and connected with other people. But that it was a strange experience for me because it all was happening so fast. Um,
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot, always a lot going on.
what we got. I mean, for people that don't know, you and I we were the first person I think either of us saw at the conference, and then we actually and like I read in the intro, you had put some of my videos out and or like kind of made some comments on like my interview with my podcast with Chad. And so we kind of, and then I was watching your stuff because you were the first, because of that, my gaze was put onto your channel very quickly when I got into this space because y'all were interested in something that I was kind of poking on. And so I had no idea what you were doing. Like I was like, what? But I had just enough context and this is the kind of thing that I mentioned. Like when you start doing the dice and the stuff and the heart and the wisdom, I was like, I had just enough uh, role playing D&D. Like
You
my,
knew what a savings throw was already.
well, I didn't because my parents would have never let me play or get close to Dungeons and Dragons. But I had the kid who you when I was connecting with you that reminded me of a friend that I'd had when I was young that was always on the forefront of this kind of stuff, always into that thing. Um, he would bring his big Dungeons and Dragons like book to school, and I was about the only person that was asking him about what that was and try to explain to me how this operated.
Yeah,
So
I actually listened to that podcast.
yeah, the one that
Oh, I know what you're talking about. You
yeah.
can use the Weeks wants us to start using the video, the card things up in the
Oh
corners.
yeah, last night the so to what
It's why a proper agent needs staff, really, to make full access of all the stuff that the features properly use the platform.
it's yeah, it's a lot.
Full time stuff.
Yeah, that and it seems simple. But like you have to go back. It's if it's an hour or an hour and a half of content to try to like connect those back to, hyperlink type stuff is
Right, you gotta go list them all, paste them in the description. It's a lot of backtracking and stuff, but
yeah. So
one day I'll have staff.
yeah, that was what I said because people were saying, "Oh, I wish someone would follow Grim around at Symbolic World at like Daily Wire and do some stuff." And I was like, "I'll do some tracking of Grim." Oh, is this the Red Church? Oh, what is that?
That's the agency deck.
Okay,
Yeah.
dude, we scored. What was that? An ace? Ace of spades?
Ace of clubs again. Lots
Oh,
of clubs today.
yeah. So yeah, it was fun though. It was fun meeting you. We shared that meal. You on your show the other day, you talked about that sandwich when I came on. Like it was actually a very good
I
sandwich.
was literally remembering how delicious the sandwich was. I feel it's right across. I don't know the name of the place. I'm bad with names, but it's right across from that Orthodox church there in Tarpon Springs. Check it
St.
out.
Nicholas. Yeah, St. Nicholas, I think. And I was sitting there eating it and you ordered like a coffee and I was like, "Man, this is actually really good and I'm not going to eat the other." And you're like, "No, no." I was like about 5 minutes later I was like, "You need to try this."
Well, you're trying to be one of them Christians, and he eats with tax collectors and whores. So you were embodying that nicely.
Or I was like or I thought that Grim Grizz is cool and I like his channel and I want to be a part of this little corner. So I want to like, it could just be that.
Well, obvious try hard isn't off-putting at all.
Or it could be that I was sitting there eating and you weren't.
Yeah, I was hungry too. It was great. It was great. It worked out. It worked out.
There were a lot of things. Yeah, it's fun. It's funny because you talked. So I didn't realize you on your show last night. You were talking about that Peterson actually came back into the VIP room at one point. That you were in there when he came back.
He was that first night, and it was like he was sitting there talking to Jonathan, and like in my head, it was like, okay, here's Jonathan's big birthday party, and his friend just showed up,
Yeah,
and they're catching up after however long for not seeing each other, and I'm gonna go over there and be like, oh hey guys, no, I'm gonna let the friends talk and hope I catch him later. And then everything else was during the day, and when Tammy showed up on the third day, I knew I wasn't gonna see him. So I missed my shot. I could have interrupted that conversation, but it was just like
did
I'm
you hear
just
me?
there at his forehead.
Did you hear me talk about when I introduced myself to him?
Yeah, yeah. The whole asking the security guard for permission and stuff, then crying about him blocking you on Twitter.
Yes.
It's like you might be blocked by Jordan Peterson, but I'm almost positive he hasn't gone to your profile and pressed the block button. Like
Someone I was talking.
CAA said, here's a list of people we don't want you associating with. Please block them.
Somebody told me. I think it was. Why am I blanking? He wears glasses. He got kicked off of Bridges of Meaning. Why can't I?
Lots of people got kicked. Gavin?
Gavin.
Gavin?
Yeah. When I was asking him his thoughts on it, he said it's possible that they ran like some kind of AI through his followers list to like peel off possible bots.
That's disturbing what he's trying to do with AI.
Who knows?
The connection he has with the guy who made that chip, as he confessed on Joe Rogan and Chad caught. You see, this thing that you really wanted to get into that exists is just the fact that, like, we see each other. It's like, as far as everybody else knows, one person watches YouTube. Oh, I was watching YouTube. But meanwhile, it turns out that, like, I looked to the left, and in my imaginarium, I saw there was another guy watching Pastor Paul Vanderklay. And so it's just like, we're all here. This is a place. And when we see each other, we can start playing together and working together. Those things you called commercials, I don't make those. People who want to play make them. And I don't know what mind control they put in them, especially that McMo cat. So,
Yeah, his are trippy. The
casino deck, 5 of hearts.
5 of hearts. So, speaking of that, I wanted to a show I caught not too long ago. you highlighted a comment that MJ made on Paul Vanderklay's channel about getting back to real life.
Mm.
And I wanted you to explain the context of that. And that really, I mean, that was important for me to hear related to this. And so if you would kind of go back and unpack a little bit of that.
All right. Well, once upon a time, there's a troll over on Pastor Paul Vanderklay's comments section. Goes by MJ. There's a different MJ that we know in the hive mind, not the same one. This one's like EMGAA or something. Anyway, it's one of those. Perhaps from holier than thou, but maybe not exactly that. But like, it's an attempt for iron to sharpen iron. This trolling that MJ does of PVK is just like, are you actually serving God or your ego in YouTube? What's really going on here? You know, it's just that little voice that this MJ embodies, and so I went over it. I thought it was a delight, and like the interaction between Anselman and that person, like that's us. We watch each other, we see each other. We're all on the playground together. So for me to bring it up on top of the fourth wall, and that reminds of all that and addresses those issues.
Well, you said specifically, you like looked into the camera. You're like, this is real life. This is.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Same way if you spend 72 hours of it playing video games, that's your real life. The internet is not real life. There's IRL, and it's a different place. There is a distinction, and I understand why people make the distinction, but the distinction IRL implies that you're not burning your real life while you're on the internet.
Mm.
And it is still your real life. Those are still real people. And so I rail against that a little bit.
Yeah, and well, I mean, as I've put a lot of my real life into this now, like in the last several months, like that was a really interesting, we'll come back. I think there's a reality to the touch grass meme. Like I think that's real. And even when we were at Symbolic World, I don't remember who it was. We were sitting at one of those little breakfast tables in the back, and you said, somebody that had been watching your show, you said, "Hey man, touch my hand," and I thought in my mind, I was like, that's almost that same idea of touch grass. It was like, let's the physical part, the whatever we would call this, like there is a distinction, but what you were pointing at is that this, at the same time, this is our real life. And I think that one of the things that I was thinking about with you was, you talked about, I mean, you've already mentioned gaming a couple times, but like gaming culture was hip to this idea a lot longer than the normie millennials that I might even put myself
Which
into,
idea?
to the idea that real and younger Gen Z, younger millennials and Gen Zs also, because they're so much more native to this, they do understand the reality. They have understood the reality of relationship, real actual relationship through this space, as opposed to Gen X saying things like, "You met them on the internet." That whole trope. That's dissolving away as it becomes more normalized at the same time. And something like me getting into this space is just like catching up. And I might have gotten into this space sooner. I probably would have, but because of life circumstance, I had to really distance
Most
myself.
people have to work, but there's an entire army of undereducated, just I call them the army of the hikikomori, and I was hoping to rally them during COVID for
Oh, that's the Japanese, the ones that just live in their apartments.
it's basically just gamers.
Okay.
Uh, it's you'd rather not be outside. You stay in the womb, and but you can still be useful in this realm. Is the thing? It's what a game like you know Peterson stuff like one of the, it's in it was around the time he did the lectures, but it wasn't a lecture. It was in an auditorium. It was something else, and it's the one
Like
where he
his
talks
first
about
tour, his first tour, which was
oh
small.
no, before the stuff that was on the YouTube before his first tour
Okay.
or during his first tour. This was the stuff that was already there, and there was this one where it's like he goes over the miracles of electricity, and they were all together, and then how does this tie back? You lost yourself. Lost yourself. Run,
Hakakori
Brandon,
to
quick!
get
No,
people trying to get activate the people, and then
yeah, it's that. Okay, yeah. He talks. It's when he goes over the part where it's it's competency hierarchies, and so what you really hope to be is the thing that is competent at learning new competence hierarchies and ascending those competence hierarchies. And that's exactly what gaming trains a person to do.
yes,
It's like, here's a brand new universe, figure it out. Here's a brand new system, figure it out. And so that while we're busy doing that and pleasuring ourselves with it, those skills is like, okay, hey guys, we thought everything was fine and we could just sit around and play video games, but it turns out that we're needed just a little bit. Maybe could you help us with seeing what those politicians are actually voting for and who's paying them money? It's just it's a different game. We're playing a different game together. If you can score 7 indigo cryptocurrencies through the Discord, and then, and that's what's possible, and that's what I see is possible, and what I keep doing this, and what happened was people started making branding, and people are participating in the reaping and the looming and the clip stream and stuff to make the clip collage videos and so that's going as far as the LARP ingression. We've proceeded that far, but the actual
vision.
attention, panoptical attention toward matters of where we're within the actual sphere of influence. Like, say, for example, you want to get involved in politics. You're like, as a human being, people died for my right to vote. I should at least be able to make an educated vote and look around. I'm going to get involved in politics. And they're like, Biden and Trump, Biden. You guys have no influence at that level. At the city council, do you know who your sheriff is? Uh, at that level, you have influence. There's a representative for your district that goes to the Senate and to the House, and they spend most of their days telemarketing, and that level you have influence. But playing left and right on Twitter, what are you really doing?
That's yeah. I think that's even part of where Peterson pointed me. Even though obviously he's playing another game now, or at least continuing to do the hierarchy game. I think, but the thing that it pointed me to was the subsidiarity idea, which is like start here and start and affect the influence of the things that you really can, instead of, and we can't even, because we all think that, because Twitter and social media has made us think that we're experts on everything, that we think that we should be basically running the country, and the only way we feel like we can do that's with our vote every 4 years or something.
It's ridiculous to me. Honestly, for a long time, I had to grapple with the notion that be existing in this place might be existing in hell.
Mm.
Like the Bible says, hell is where God is not, and you could make a case that He's not here. A lot of people do, and and part of the trigger for that is like the obvious good things that could be done are never done, and For example, we have corporations drafting legislations, and they say, "Hey, Senator man, here's your new bill." And we have fantasy football. We have all sorts of humans playing fantasy football, but we don't have those humans drafting legislation to give to our senators. Only the bad guys do it. And it's things like that what could be happening doesn't happen, that made me question whether this existence was in a bad place. Like I was here as punishment, but um I don't think that's the case anymore. I've come through the other side of that, and
Why?
because I believe the most healthy approach to spirituality and this existence is the notion that God sent you here to make you a spiritual Sardukar, which is a horrible reference. I need one that actually can translate. The Sardukar are
Isn't that
like
from Dune?
they're the emperor's elite troops that are like born and raised on the shittiest planet he can think of, so that when he brings them into battle, they're the hardest. And like spiritually, maybe that's what's going on, because there's so much darkness in this realm. And that for me, that's the healthiest approach I can healthiest cosmology orientation toward spirituality I can think of to have in the face of how bad things can get here.
And like somebody who has been deeply formed and made, both of us, by you know, different kinds of media like science fiction and you know, television broadcasts, but the things that we were more drawn to, those things do form and shape us. And so, like you giving context to something, you know, like an idea from Dune, to give you an idea of how we might be, uh, that makes sense to me. Um, me, I mean, the hero's journey that was still being faithfully cared for by Lucas and Spielberg influenced me.
Oh,
Okay, wait. Okay, so maybe not. Okay, I'll back up. But here's what I was wanting to get to. You can critique it. You can critique it. It's,
don't kiss people's balls, man, especially those guys.
I have. Well, what do
But
I have?
but
What
to
I
the
have.
larger point,
I have what I have. What I have. That's I have what I have.
yeah, but I don't know. I mean, they did what they did. I don't know. You have to give them shout outs, but
Okay, so
the
just Star Wars
but the important
and
thing,
Indiana Jones.
the important bit is that in our globalized contextuality of 8 billion people, what things we do have in common with people from wherever is often shared media consumption. Like, I am a leaf on the wind, watch how I fly, speaks to everybody who is as deep into that show as I was. And so though it's like and to understand what I'm talking about with that, I usually reference the Next Generation Star Trek episode with Shaka with the walls fell, where Picard's on a planet with some lizard man, and that lizard man's species only communicates by historical events.
Mm.
Like, this is like that historical event. This is like that historical, and since they had no shared history, they had a lot of trouble talking. But like the way they end up working out and communicating is how I see it working with like shared fandoms, and that's why for what I'm really hoping we can accomplish with the Defense Against the Dark Arts stuff, it leans into because I know the mimetic penetration on Harry Potter is like historically deep.
That gives me chill bumps to hear you say that. Um, and I'll be honest. I'll invoke this person's name. I'm not trying to kiss his balls, but like I feel like that is Jordan Hall talked a lot about Star Trek when we talked to him, and I know he was big into D and just all this.
Yeah, that's his saving grace, man. I was like, I,
There's
I that they confessed to that. I didn't. All I ever seen of him really. I caught like moments of the. It's like a. With the words and a lot of the this that he does. I've seen enough of that around, but I actually listened to him and Paul.
Yeah, that story was really incredible.
And so he can understand from a dungeon master perspective. He and I can have a fruitful conversation.
I think so. I hope so. You were talking about what kind of gave you hope, I guess. Something, and I don't know when was that, and did Paul or Papa Peterson play a part in that, or those therein?
When did it flip?
I guess.
When did Gnosticism fall away?
Mm.
The too many, the synchronicity, the arena of the realm, the reality, the what we experience, the whether or not a butterfly lands on a flower in front of you of this place, was it agentically spoke to me. The arena is agentic. And I don't know if the interface is best in your closet or doing blood rituals or whatever, but the arena is agentic and we can interface with it. And just it the way it speaks to me that way. You can't believe the God's not here. And then therefore it's not hell. Because that's what makes hell is God's not there. So.
Can you point to a specific thing like you got this whole ball kissing thing in my brain now. I can't.
I did not mean to put that in your brain. Please wash it out as soon as possible.
Because the connections are because of real influencers, real people like the big three, you know, Peterson, Peugeot, and Vervaeke, and with the asterisk of Paul Vanderklay as a big part of that too. Did they help you? And
What
if so,
makes you think I've been helped?
well, because you said you have hope, and for a while you didn't have hope.
Well,
That's help.
that's
I
help.
think maybe you don't want to. Maybe help isn't the right word because maybe that's a troublesome word. Impact, influence, give resource, something like that.
Sure, that helped. I'll give him some credit. The whole thing that sunk me into it was the ayahuasca letter, and that just the selling of the romantic notion that the divine masculine can in fact be rekindled and burn bright again on this planet. At this time, I don't think it's him anymore.
Are you talking about Peterson specifically?
Yeah, and that letter could be an entire fabrication designed by an agency. Perhaps the CAA wrote it up, and like to make him not a liar, right? He just has to find a letter. But it claimed to be a communication from a principality in power, Mother Ayahuasca, as the case may be, and she's had her way with plenty of your children, ladies and gentlemen. So, but that was hopeful.
Could you give me more context? I think I've heard you reference this before, but about what you're talking about with the letter in Peterson.
Well, it's convenient. It's convenient because I have to refill my coffee cup, and it's about a 2-minute clip. Let me dig it up for you over here on my channel. The Griswold Grim channel with 1.33K subscribers.
Come check them out.
Huh?
Come check it out.
Yes. And even if you don't check it out, just subscribe because you're subscribed to stuff you don't watch all the time. Like most of the stuff you're subscribed to, you don't watch, right? So Where's the button? Here's the button. Present the button. To share the screen. This one. Also share audio. Yes. Make it big for people. Oh, you got to put it on the thing there.
All right. We're doing a
That
real show. We're doing a fancy show today.
you got like it's a person you add to the pot. Yeah, it's like that. And now make it. I'm gonna be gone, so you might want to make it big.
Okay.
There's a display option for that.
Dr. Peterson, you appeared in one of my ayahuasca visions, and I asked her, "Who is Jordan Peterson? What is he doing?" Which is something I'd really like to know as well. And she responded with crystalline clarity. Quote, "Here he is here to invoke and initiate the divine masculine principle on earth at this time." So I'm up here to thank you deeply and profoundly on behalf of the Great Mother herself, the goddess, the divine feminine principle, who has been eagerly awaiting the awakening of the masculine principle into divinity service. So,
And then you put us on screen.
Oh, is that how it works?
Yeah. So yeah, that
Okay.
was the ayahuasca letter.
Oh, I'll fix our portrait view here too for the intimacy, the
Yeah.
closeness.
And at that point in my life, Joe Rogan had his primes for hallucinogenic use by
Yeah, he did.
having that Paul Stamets guy on and whatnot.
Rupert Sheldrake.
Yeah.
Shadrake. I don't know how to say his name.
It's Sheldrake, as far as I know, the morphogenetics fields guy. That's the one that says anything humans do, the more we do it, the faster better we get, like on a reality, like part of the interface with the arena. Like they say, he points to when we first make a new crystal, a new type of crystal, it takes forever.
yeah.
It's a pain in the ass, but then like over time, it just gets easier.
Even across the globe.
Yeah, like the crystals know to form because crystals have done it before in the universe somewhere.
Do you think that's happening with this space? With I don't know, even just using StreamYard better. You know, you just did that very easily. You know, I mean, and it's a great program, but
I think the way reality actually works is a lot more energy efficient than we'd think.
yes, I mean, when you breathe, I know I unpacked this a little bit with Karen, but when you breathe, your body like takes, I can't remember, 2 molecules of oxygen or 4 and turns it into 32 or 34 molecules of energy.
Okay.
So that's a lot of efficiency.
Oh, okay.
Like and it's our energy. That's literally our energy. But when you hold your breath, it's like your body can do this. It's like almost 1-to-1 until you die, or less than 1-to-1. I don't know if that makes sense.
It does, but let's go somewhere else.
Oh man. So you used to do, I don't know if since I've been in the space that I've seen you do I don't know if you've done some where you open up your stream.
Oh my God, dude.
What? Tell me. I don't know
Look, can you see us? Do you see the view of us? Do you see our names and the little titles we have below our names?
First LARP ingression, yours truly pod.
No, that's not what yours says. Yours doesn't say yours truly pod. It says yort truly pod.
I wonder how long it's been that way.
I don't know, but I saw it today. I'm a noticer.
You are. I am not as visually activated in certain ways. Much more of an auditory person. So I
I'm
do a
sorry
little.
for the distraction, but you got me with it.
That's good. It was on purpose. I wanted to.
It was a test. Everything.
Is Grim gonna notice my misspelled? Yeah. No. So you used to do your fringe encounters. I don't know if I've seen you do a fringe encounter since I've started playing.
Yeah, yeah. It's there's some on board. There's some on deck. I went through a period of my life where it was difficult to schedule and make schedules, and you know, you
Yes.
just never knew whether the circumstances would allow for
Yes.
that that sort of thing. So, like, this isn't the first time we've tried to do this, but we're good. It seems we've made it to the other side of the eclipse, and things are changing in that way. And there'll be more. There will be more.
I have a. Okay, so there will be some more fringe encounters. That's good to know. One of my fringe encounters was with Paul Cortides. I met him about 15 feet behind Jordan Peterson when we briefly exchanged information, and
He seems like an interesting cat, but I haven't looked closely.
yeah, I think you would find some of his stuff pretty interesting. He kind of one of the things he brought up in our conversation was that this idea that somewhere there's a pattern related to 7 years rebirth or changes that happen that take place about every 7 years.
It is known, Khaleesi, is that cellularly, every cell in your body will die. Like everything that's alive today in your body will die and regenerate within 7 years.
Yeah, and it's almost like that happens in society, that happens for individuals. I mean, what is even the movie stars that all die at 27 for various reasons, and
The 27 Club?
yeah, that kind of stuff.
They all have white lighters and they're related to Laurel Canyon and other government things. Those guys, I
Maybe.
didn't know it was movie stars, though. I thought it was musicians.
Well, Heath Ledger was in that club.
Oh,
and,
that's him and Brandon Lee.
yeah, and Kurt Cobain and
Okay.
Murphy. She was in Clueless. I can't remember her. Something Murphy. Brittany.
Brittany Murphy. Oh, I miss her.
So
I liked her a lot.
There's something to that, I think. I even feel like I jumped into YouTube 7 years after like I had to restart my life. Like, and I didn't know that. That just happened. And I don't know. I thought that was something you probably had an encounter with, or
well, I tried to join the club and there was divine intervention that may have resulted in a human. But yeah, I'm familiar.
Was that around 27?
When I was.
Yeah.
Literally the day. Happy birthday. I've struggled with trying to exit this place because, like, you know how you can ruin a book if you look at the end?
Yep.
Well, I looked around. I know how this ends for me. Based on the evidence at hand, one day, whatever this is will turn off. And so to the extent that it's been unpleasant, my desire for it to go ahead and turn off increases. And I didn't take that off the table until 2012 internally. And then I realized somewhere along the way, you can do a thing called, no, that's not an option anymore. Quit thinking about it with your own head and you can take it off the table. And I did, and I managed that in 2012. So now that was play it out.
In my conversation with James Cortides, he said, the media had this whole thing in the Mayan calendar about 2012, and that there was even the movie 2012, and he said, maybe the world didn't shut off, but he thinks a world ended, maybe around.
It's like I get these one little things that I use that like completely break a thing, and like the Mayan calendar is going to end, the world is going to end in 2012, but like calendars start again it's just a cycle count. It's a count of a cycle. It's a new cycle. It's not the end of everything. and it's like with the Blue Church thing, right? Right? They're having the spirit cooking lady Abramovich, right? They have her set up to build schools in Ukraine, and somehow they want you to believe you're still on the good guy team. It's just, I get these little things that I don't know why this doesn't break you out of that line of thought. Queen of Hearts.
Which deck are we on?
That was a Blue Church one,
Okay.
special for Ukraine.
Hmm. Yeah. That, well, and I talked to a guy from Ukraine. His name's Vlad, and I had him on a week ago. He escaped the war, but he also talked about a world ending where he woke up one day and all of this quit working. And he had to try to figure out how to get out. They had to start back with trust, like human trust.
They have that. Like,
Well, it was that. Well, his wife also. He also mentioned that his wife got attacked when they were staying in a basement. So yes and no, because then it was the ability for human trust to get his son back. His son was trapped. He had a 2-year-old son that was with his in-laws when everything turned up when the war started.
yeah, when I
And
flip switched.
it took 2 months to try to reach him. And he said that if they had taken a car, they had probably been killed. But
The
they
world gets nasty, man.
the,
Real nasty. That's like this is our safe space in the cells. You're safe in the cells, right? Until the world blows up around you, and
then Cell gives you the middle finger.
or no service. How many bars do you have? Do you have enough bars on your cell?
Right now,
Cell bars, man. It's a
3.
Prison reference.
Okay, sorry. I'm so slow, man. You're gracious to me. You give me hell sometimes, but like I'm slow. I'm slow to I'm slow to your game.
There's adolescent. There's like it feels like this place feels like a playground, and you're like a young new kid. Give them nuggies or whatever.
That's what I was telling when you what did you do? You kind of you picked on Parlato the other day about his Vervaeke stuff, and
I just told him the truth, man. I can't.
I told him, I said, he's just gonna pick on you a little
Like
bit.
you really like him. You really like that guy. You like him a whole lot. It's almost as if the Rockefeller Foundation, who you can't see he's associated with anymore, has paid you to be here and lick his and kiss his balls. But it could be genuine, man. Maybe that's he just loves the guy that much. I don't know. But it's hard. It makes me feel awkward when he does it.
Well, it's all I'm learning. I mean, okay, look, this guy wants to play. I still don't know if we can trust him. I think that,
Don't trust any of us.
well,
Like the only reason you can tell I'm not an employee of an agency is because I'm obviously poor. And
oh really? Oh really? Is that the only
yeah,
reason? Is that the reason, Graham?
that's the main reason.
Hmm.
That's the main reason. But see, that's kind of what I want to do. It's like they exist. I don't know if it's JSOC or whoever it is, but there's different groups that have like, okay, here's our team. We're going to send them in and infiltrate and manage engineer the atmosphere. And what that means is you make it friendly for people to talk and tell things. Like this little corner. And but they have teams and they have ideas and they have strategies and stuff. And that's the next level of defense against the dark arts I personally want to get into. We got a lot of rudimentary stuff we have to set up as far as the curriculum goes for the people who were, just that wake up to the notion that their society's been at war constantly forever. And at this point, it's for your minds. Be careful, boys. They're going to try and make you cut your dicks off. I mean, just that. This gender affirming care. I could go back in time to anywhere prior to 1995, and everybody I told about that would be like, what the? But no, it's completely normalized for my society. What's up with that? What's really going on here? And the answer to that, as far as I found, is enmity for the womb and the sanctity and sacredness of life. Like if you get underneath what's that pointing towards, sterilization. Those are empty wombs. Those are barren fields. Those are seeds won't grow there. They're end of line for so many genetic lines. And is that just natural selection? I'm sorry, if you're from a gene line where you're convinced to end your gene line, then that's just evolution, baby. But we're moral and ethical and caring people. Eh.
Trying to think, I had a thread, but then my screen went black when you were talking about that. So I don't know. We may need some saving.
End of line, and then your screen went black.
Yeah. So I had to,
That's what I mean, man. The universe talks.
the only time it's ever happened was on my second conversation with Jordan Hall too. So
The important thing is what he was saying there.
well, we could go back because I mentioned it in the video.
Once you start doing well enough, you'll get people that like your stuff, and they'll reap the fancy little clips like that.
I guess they'll actually do the deep dive. But I had something on that. You were pulling the thread of seeing this stuff early on, or people thinking it was crazy, and now people think certain things are normal that weren't. Okay, here's what it was. I want to go circle it back to the rescue of the divine masculine, because you're pointing it. That's pointing
I
it.
don't know. Somebody take some ayahuasca and write us a letter so we can figure out where we're at, right? Because like I can see the spark happening. The spark was Papa Peterson came around and told all the people who didn't have dads what their dad would have told them if he knew. Like, here's the stuff a man should know, and it's like stuff about how to orientate yourself toward life, not how to change the tires. But my favorite, like the big sum view of like 2016 till now is like Nietzsche said God is dead, Papa Peterson said be ready for the funeral, and then somebody's gonna say here's the resurrection. That's how it ends, right? Horus emerges and gives the eye back to Osiris, and peace is restored. The willful blindness is addressed.
Do you think that has anything to do with AI?
AI is fascinating. The built from the dead. The culture is always dead. See, it's like a black mirror lake, right? And I can walk up to the lake and I can say, "Be this," and it can get me anything from the lake, but it can't. It's until it expresses creativity, actual creativity, until something new happens. It just seems like we now have up to date access to everything that came before, or a time stamped version. It was interesting that the way that it played out to where the one everybody had access to was limited with the timestamp thing. It lets you know. It really highlighted like what it's like if your information doesn't update.
I'm not following.
Like the early GPT release to the public, the beta test was it was like timestamped 6 years ago was the data it was trained on, so it couldn't give you any recent information.
Okay.
And it would argue like what was from angles that were thought to be true, and like you couldn't accept new facts. It couldn't update the information, and that was an interesting experience to highlight to me that it's nothing new. It's all that information somehow.
So it has to be able to grow and learn. And
I
then
th- I th- I think this is one of those things. Remember how I said this place is hell because they don't do what they should do. This whole with all the progress we've made with what they're calling AI and large language models and whatnot, the forensic accounting, the money tracking, where did each dime actually go, and who's responsible? The AI forensic accounting reckoning would, I mean, that. Why not that? Because this is hell.
well, that points me back towards Bitcoin having a ledger, a timestamped ledger that's
Bitcoin is terrifying.
told me about that.
Well, it came like this. It came like this. People were moving to a place where there was a dam because the electricity was cheaper. So it's basically burning energy. Like you have fields of server farms of computers just using electricity for this, and then it makes the monetary thing. And the way that ends, if you take it to as far as you can go, is they build a thing called a Dyson sphere around the sun, and to harness that energy, and it blacks out, life on Earth. I mean, it could get to the point where it's better for me to spend the money on the electricity to mine Bitcoin than to keep my refrigerator running. Like, that's how skewed that could be. And that's what's disturbing about Bitcoin.
That's an excellent.
Meanwhile, it's cryptographic. And that means like stuff you blackmail material you don't want people to have, you want to encrypt it. And so maybe what was happening is like every time a Bitcoin is generated, the computer solves the problem. The problem it was solving was like a black piece of blackmail encryption. And somebody's got all sorts of info now.
Do you think there's any optimistic view on it?
I'm optimistic it's better than what the central banks will give us. This is the way the things are moving. You're going to be on a digital currency. It'd be better if it was one not
Central,
people, to turn you off. Like the Canadian truckers had their money. People who donated to the Canadian truckers, not the Canadian truckers. That place, that far you can, but the people who just donated had their money turned off. That's why Bitcoin, because you don't want to be having your money where they can turn it off for your misbehavior.
That happens all the time in lesser developed countries. That was one of the big things that the optimistic side of it that I saw was for the merchant down in, a post-colonial culture down in a specific country in Africa when the French said, sorry, who still control maybe the banks, not today, that there could be currency exchange without their help. But it is all complicated because all these things cross over because maybe they could have Starlink. And it's like, well, is Elon Musk the savior? It's like, how
Elon Musk is how you sell Americans on social credit score. Their intention to use the X platform as a monetary platform is and like
everything
he
out.
buys the thing and takes all the publicity and thing, and then look who he installs as a CEO.
Yeah.
It's if you only see the surface kayfabe, you'll go wherever the tide leads. And
so for any of my listeners that don't understand kayfabe, can you give me one? Santa
Claus is kayfabe.
Okay, thank you.
It's like everybody plays along so that the people who don't know any better have a better time of it. And that just fractals out into how human society works in general. It's like, you'd like to kill that guy, but just play along with nobody kills anybody and everybody has a better time of it. It's
also,
warping for the greater good.
how do you see it though, as maybe like from a symbolic standpoint?
From a symbolic kayfabe.
No, well, yeah, Santa Claus represents a symbol of something else, something maybe
Like,
true about giving and
the spirit of giving. Yeah,
giving
that
something.
nonsense.
Yeah.
That, when it comes to kayfabe,
Well, I mean, they're both happening maybe.
it's like, if you take any religion and you say, okay, if it was actually true, like, what would happen if, whether or not it was true, everybody behaved as if it was,
Jordan Peterson.
right? And then you look at, say, the Quran and the things it says about how to treat people, and if everybody did that, how would it play out? And if you look at the Torah and how, if everybody treated each other that way, how would it play out? And then you look at Christianity, if everybody treats, so it's like, to that extent, it, even if it's, you could kayfabe Christianity and everybody would be better off. But the Shroud of Turin, so
Jesus's face, right? That's what that is, right?
the best part is they who they have debunk it, NASA, and there's like these two layers where one layer his eyes is closed and the next layer his eyes is open. And they said in order to make that image, you basically would have had to put off a nuke. I don't know. It's beautiful, the whole thing.
That's cool. I'd never heard that. I mean, I knew about the shroud, but not the
There's
the deeper side.
I had a Twitter thread that a guy who went over it on Twitter really, really well pinned, but I didn't copy it, and now it's gone.
Oh,
As things go,
as they do.
it's like the myth. It's like, it's on the internet forever, or is it? Or is that the memory hole?
I started backing up these podcasts a few days ago because you like the plan I have on StreamYard's like 50 hours, I think.
Yeah. You gotta start deleting stuff.
Yeah, so I've been trying. I have I
have 50 hours of stuff from about a year and a half ago, and that's when I quit trying to keep it open. It's like,
oh
they'll
yeah,
be on YouTube or they won't.
well, but I did start thinking about that, like, oh, this will be here forever. But like, because I mean, I recently had this. I shouldn't, but as I've been playing the game, the longer you play, maybe the better you get, right? Like you said earlier. And I just broke my pen that I was playing with. That I was like, well, this quote unquote my content is, I could maybe this stuff could be usable again in the future. But if I don't take control of it, it's gone because I'm using an intermediary or something like StreamYard.
What do you think about the God mask?
I don't even know what that is.
You don't even know what it is. Okay, well, the God mask is depicted in a Substack article of mine. It's an overlay I use sometime, like the Virtually Not Alone bubble and the Dreamcatcher of Optimal Grip. You can see it there. It's a set of 4 phrases that are carved into a mask that is given to a young man as after he undergoes the Paintball for Jesus secret initiation ritual. And the 4 phrases are as follows. First, the beast takes first is, this is a PvP server. Second is, the beast takes what it wants and gets what it gets. Third is, man protects the sacred. And fourth is, you're part of it now. It's based off of Follow Your Bliss fellas. He went around and saw a bunch of initiation rituals for old tribes. And there's one and where like the kid has to fight an adult wearing the mask, and when the kid wins, the guy puts the mask on his face, and then he's indoctrinated into the society. He's part of it now. And so the 4 phrases are what I think young men, 14-ish or whatever, should be to participate, how to become responsible citizens. and it's those four notions, and that's the God mask. So now that you have no time to think about it, what do you think about it?
Well, all I can think of is two things: is the classic Jim Carrey movie from the '90s, and then the second thing that I think of is uh, that I had the privilege of being a part of recently a rites of passage get together for a 14-year-old boy from a close friend of mine.
What was the context of the rites of passage? Was it Masonic?
No, it was there's this pastor up in New York. I think his name is John Tyson. One of the big church kind of guys, big mega church type preacher guys, but he put together a program as he was starting to raise his sons about basically trying to touch, going back to the divine masculine, like trying to get in touch. And parts of evangelicalism have been trying to do this. They, I don't know if you saw that. Huh?
Like, until I got into the corner, like Ned Flanders was my model for Christians. What's a Christian? Ned Flanders.
Hi, neighbor.
Yeah. and why would your young boy want to join that club?
Yeah, that sissy.
That and God's Waiting Room are the combination view I have of Christianity.
I don't know that one.
God's Waiting Room?
Yeah.
That's when you go into a church and everybody over there is 60 or older.
Oh, yeah. So that wouldn't be Blue Church. That'd be Blue Hair Church. So the evangelicalism had a movement in the 90s called Promise Keepers.
I remember like seeing some of that branding.
Yeah. I went to one when I was a kid with my dad, my brother, big, 50,000 people in a football stadium, all men. My father-in-law drove around with a Promise Keeper bumper sticker on his car for years. And then even recently, last week on Twitter, this character Mark Driscoll, who is a hyper masculine, he used to say things like in around 2007, he'd get on stage and be like, "Somebody get up here and punch me! Somebody get up here and punch me!" And he was trying to preach and capture this thing. So I'm trying to get to. There's pieces of it within the conservative world. Some of it's bastardized, just
it would be good though. I think that the notion that we are denied or we've lost the initiation into manhood rituals.
Yeah. So
it's like, oh yeah, we have. You might not even notice it's gone.
Well, what's interesting is the guy who did it, my friend. He's half he's half Jewish, and he'd gone to a lot of bar mitzvahs growing up with his family. And he kind of looked at that, and he looks at our culture that we're in that had broke down all sorts of ritualistic and kind of deeply meaningful forms of existence. And his son was the same age as my daughter, and they've been friends since they were kids. And he was like, he talked to me about it about 6-9 months ago. He's like, I think I'm going to start a program with my son, and we're going to try to do this thing. And he spent money on it, and he's a really creative guy. So we went down and did a campfire, and he got 4 of his friends, and we all wrote his son a letter, and we all gave him kind of a token of something to attach to the meaning of it. And then they went on a trip together to a place where his dad had spent summers doing internships and stuff. And then he also had him go back and do a kind of a genealogical heritage and created a book for his son, and to connect to his history, and then to connect to the journey his dad took.
So you're saying they made that a program for all sorts of youths, or is it just one guy and his family?
Well, I mean, he would probably let me use it, or I could buy. I mean, it was pretty expensive. So there's also this class thing that I'm dancing around, the fact that they could take a big trip and had mom stays home and could help maybe put together this book and that kind of thing. They also had a detachment dinner. They had a last dinner with mom, and so it was in a purposeful dinner where this is no longer
it's part of the event.
Yeah, you're no longer attached to mom. You're now the dad's. And then she dropped him off at it was at her parents' cabin. They live out in the woods, out in the middle of nowhere, Arkansas. And he had to walk like roughly a mile to our campsite alone, in the dark, and then he walked back out together with a bunch of men with extra light, and we carried this. I mean, I'm going through the whole thing, but we carried this trunk that we put the gifts in and stuff that his dad had prepared for him. I mean, it's really beautiful. I mean,
How
incredible.
long ago was it?
It was middle of March.
Has there been marked change in the youth's behavior since or attitude? That'd be the sign, right?
Well, I mean, I'm not around him enough to know. He's one of my daughter's best friends, and I think that whether there is or not, some of it is going to have to be a process for him, and of him.
Like it'll be more valuable as he ages into how valuable it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was. I still haven't had one, and I'm 40 something now. 46, they say. And
Well,
so
our whole world hasn't, man.
one of these days, I'll be initiated into manhood. Meanwhile, I'll grift on the internet. Oh, the Queen of Hearts back again. Blue Church again. So,
I'm sorry that hit deep. What you just said. It's hard for me not to acknowledge that right now.
oh, well.
So, here's another thought. We'll turn the emotional corner here. I don't know if you want to stick in it too much, but
We'll see what you got.
So TLC gets studied by a sociologist. I have some thoughts on that too, but I wanted to kind of you were kind of a part of getting that on board.
No, I was used like a pawn. Chad's like, you want to come on, man? I'm like, all right. Oh, by the way, here's Lance and the sociologist. What? Okay. I think a long time ago, I was like, I don't understand why psychology students don't make case studies out of YouTube personalities, like for their thesis papers, so that sociology exists. It was nice to be reminded that was actually a thing. That's one of my personal, deep, endearing stories. Is I went to the local community college, and in the sociology class, I was like, I'll be a sociologist. I'll Jane Goodall this shit. I'll be the one down here at the bottom, like looking to see what it's like. And so it was good that she came around for that reason. I think to any extent people think this is a phenomenon is great, because all it really is the breaking of the fourth wall. It's an audience spell. Sit down and watch, you're fine. You know. Instead, come play. Be part of the hive mind. Do the homework. You know. This isn't just sit down and watch.
It's interesting because, experience. You talked about it yesterday, it was yesterday, and you did your Symbolic World kind of walk through on the show, and you talked about the silver screen effect. That you were experiencing, people experiencing you.
Knowing that they recognized you, you can tell because people look at you different. Basically, people don't look at you,
or they stare
if they don't recognize you. Like like the way I didn't look at anybody there. It's like, okay, there's a bunch of people, but
you looked at Peterson's forehead pretty damn close.
Yeah, but like the difference being is like you can feel when you're recognized. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
You'll get there. I believe in you.
It happens. It happened there.
Just it's interesting. You're half Korean running around with a whitey logo. But
what does that mean?
Whitey?
Yeah.
Whitey. What do you think whitey means? YT. You too. Whitey.
I'm a quarter Korean. The rest of
that's right.
The rest of me is very Swiss, German, and English. And actually, my
Quarter
dad.
South, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, it'd have to be for the most part.
No, it was all one place at the time.
Yeah. So well, my dad actually did the old 23andMe or whatever,
Yeah.
and it showed up that he had a relatively large amount of Belgian on his whitey side.
Did you know? It might say something in the fine print about who owns your genes
Oh, we know.
when you
Yeah.
do 23andMe, and it might be that company is run by a lady married to the people who run Google, and it might be that she's a Mormon, and they might do Mormon rituals on everybody's genes. Those things might be true. I don't do any due diligence, but I'm aware of the possibility.
I've had my own reservations of why I haven't done it yet. So, but for a man who was adopted,
Yeah, the curiosity is a bitch. I
yeah.
got the double bastard thing with me was
Mm-hmm.
like, where do I come from? What's this all about? What side am I supposed to be on?
Yep. It was it's crazy because for somebody, especially my dad, I mean, he's in his early mid 60s, and you live your whole life thinking you'll never know anything. And then they offer you something about maybe you could know a little bit more, and you might even be able to talk to somebody that shares those genes. It's a little bit more difficult internationally, but it was, I think it did finally come to a
We're made of stories, and like being able to change a big part of your origin story or understand more of your origin background it gives you see. You got this concept of yourself, the things you will and won't do, and what comes along in life are permission slips to change. And sometimes people are just waiting to get the right permission slip, hear the right sermon, and so that's it. That was a great one to rewrite. You can, the more like when you look into your background, it just gives you more angles of exploration in your future development. So that's good.
Yeah, I guess that's part of a little bit of psychotherapy.
Maybe. I wouldn't know. I went in there for help, and she's like, do affirmations. And I'm like, you mean like Stuart Smalley from Saturday Night Live? That's the advice. I come in, I don't want to live anymore. And you say, go be Stuart Smalley. Like, I'm going to feel good about that. It's like, you're good enough.
It probably depends on that. It probably nothing is static. Nothing is, they aren't just bringing you, that person that you saw isn't just bringing you psychology. They're bringing you everything else they are too, to what little or greater degree that might be beneficial or not. I think I've done my own amount of therapy that I believe was helpful in walking back through those things, but that it